Jeanne Oliver. I wanted to talk to you about another stencil that is coming out through StencilGirl Products. All of the images are taken from the original piece that was very large, called Eyes Wide Open. And so all of the marks, there's some abstract mark making and repetitive marks throughout this that they have drawn from to create the stencils. There's some florals that they have drawn out that that'll be available. And then there are 4 faces that are available. And so I just want to talk to you today about the next stencil video, and this is about Sweet Girl Face. So this is a better version, or a closer up version of the stencil, the original image. And of this, or from this, StencilGirl created this larger stencil and the smaller 6x6. So the larger is 9x12. This is a 6x6 size. And so I want to show you some of the things that I have done with them so far as I've been playing around. And the more that I do things, the more I want to share them with you. Because I can't do the spray paint as easily, I wanted to share that this is the larger 9x12 that I spray painted onto newsprint. And I would like to say that spray paint on newsprint absorbs really beautifully. It's very soft, and it's a great layer if you want to tear it apart and add it into your bigger work. It's a great way to include it into your art journaling. And one of the things that I did, one of the first things I did when I got the sample stencils, is that I took this stencil and I repeated it on the walls here in my studio. I spray painted them, and then I also extended very loose bodies on them, and then I put text, words inside those bodies, and then I put a light wash over it. And so that's currently huge on the walls of my studio, and I'll share a photo right now so you can kind of see what that is. And those are almost 5 feet tall, I believe, and it was really fun to repeat the pattern. And so this is the stencil spray painted. This is the same image, but I have it on clear gessoed watercolor paper, and I came in with just a vine charcoal, and I got those lines going, repeated some of the lines down here in a different way than the stencil showed, and just really extended those lines. I moved it around a little bit. This piece, I had sprayed some acetone on it before I started, so that's when you're going to see that some of it's sprayed out, and so it kind of gives it a nice misting, and it sets it, and so it's not as movable with water. So then I was able to come in easily with just some acrylic paint and some white gesso, and not even move those lines around too much, and really within a few minutes start to have a portrait at this stage. This is a piece that I had already done just a wash underneath with the light green, and then on top of that wash I came in once again. You can see this stencil. I wanted you to see this before I kind of moved it around and brought anything in. So here you see the charcoal once again, and you can see that it was sprayed with the acetone. You can kind of see that charcoal sprayed out, and then I really haven't done anything beyond that. So this is just clear gessoed watercolor paper with the charcoal on top of a wash that's already there. Here in the journal, this was just, I had spray painted, and then there was so much paint on it, I just actually flipped it over and stamped it in the journal. And here was just a girl that I started to move around, but with nothing more than graphite and some gesso, but she started just as a stencil with acrylic on gessoed paper. And so I just wanted to show you, just with charcoal, with spray paint, with acrylics, how you can start the stencil. But I wanted to show you something else because I love stitching so much. So much of what I do, especially if I'm traveling or I'm watching something with my family, I love to be able to stitch. And so here's the front of the stitching, one of them, but here's the back, and I end up loving the back sometimes more than the fronts. And here's another piece that I did, but once again, like, and here's the back, and I love that also. But what I did is I took my stencil and I took some of my vintage French linen and that I had dyed with avocado pit, and just using a mechanical pencil. And as you can see, I left some of the mechanical pencil here and I didn't finish it so you could see that. I just did some simple stitches, just following the lines of my stencil, and really just coming back in and filling in some of the areas. But I love the back. Actually, this is a little wrinkly so you can't see it as much, but I love the back like as much or maybe even more than the front. And so I'm going to show you another project I'm going to be starting just to give you guys ideas. Also, if you don't have vintage French linen, use drill, use drop cloths from Home Depot. You know, you want something with a little weight to it so it doesn't stretch out and move as much. But the French linen is really heavy, and so it's probably a little harder to stitch with. But don't worry, I will be sharing very soon some classes and even tutorials on how you can do this yourself. But I wanted you to know that if you're a stitcher, if you don't want to work with the stencils with paints and with those mediums, that I want you to know that one of the first things that I wanted to do when I got these was to come in and to do some stitching with them. So I want to just show you again the Sweet Face Girl. This is what it'll look like when it comes to you. It's a 6x6 size, and then the 9x12, and I'm excited to see what you create with them.